World War II was a truly global conflict, involving nations and soldiers from around the world. The image depicts the scale and intensity of the fighting, with soldiers from different countries battling on a chaotic battlefield. The dramatic sky and warm color palette convey the high stakes and human drama of the war. In this presentation, we'll explore the origins, key events, and lasting impact of this pivotal chapter in history. We'll uncover the personal stories and experiences that shaped this global conflict. By the end, you'll have a deeper understanding of how World War II transformed the world and the lives of millions. The interwar period was a time of great economic, political, and social upheaval following World War I. The Great Depression caused widespread hardship and resentment, setting the stage for instability. The harsh terms of the Treaty of Versailles imposed on Germany after World War I led to bitterness and a desire for revenge. Amid this turmoil, extremist ideologies like fascism and communism began to gain traction and power. These factors created a volatile environment that would ultimately lead to the outbreak of World War II. Benito Mussolini was the founder of fascism in Italy. He promoted a strong, nationalist and authoritarian state. Adolf Hitler led the Nazi Party in Germany. He espoused racist and expansionist ideologies. Both Mussolini and Hitler established totalitarian regimes that suppressed dissent and controlled all aspects of society. The rise of these fascist and Nazi movements in the early 20th century had devastating consequences for millions of people. It's crucial that we understand this history to prevent such atrocities from happening again. The policy of appeasement adopted by Britain and France in the 1930s, where they gave in to Hitler's demands to avoid war, ultimately failed to prevent the outbreak of World War I. The Munich Agreement in 1938 allowed Germany to annex the Sudetenland, which emboldened Hitler and further destabilized Europe. Appeasement showed Hitler that the Allies were unwilling to stand up to his aggression, and this failure of diplomacy paved the way for the start of the war. On September 1, 1939, Germany invaded Poland, violating international agreements and sparking the start of World War II. The German forces used blitzkrieg tactics, a rapid, overwhelming military assault that quickly overwhelmed the Polish defenses. In response, Britain and France declared war on Germany, marking the official beginning of World War II. This invasion and the subsequent declarations of war set the stage for the global conflict that would engulf much of the world over the next 6 years. Blitzkrieg was a new military strategy used by Germany in World War I. Combined the rapid, coordinated movement of tanks, aircraft, and infantry to achieve lightning-fast advances. The key elements were speed, surprise, and the concentrated force of combined arms. This allowed Germany to conquer much of Europe quickly and decisively. In the early years of the war, blitzkrieg tactics proved highly effective, overwhelming opponents who were not prepared for this new style of warfare. The speed and ferocity of the blitzkrieg attacks left enemies disoriented and unable to mount an effective defense. This set the stage for Germany's early victories and the rapid expansion of its control across the continent. The Battle of Britain was a critical turning point in World War I. The German Luftwaffe launched a massive aerial campaign to attack Britain. They targeted airfields and cities across the country. The Royal Air Force fought back fiercely, using advanced radar technology to defend Britain. Despite their initial attacks, the Germans failed to achieve air superiority over the skies of Britain. This German defeat forced them to cancel their planned invasion of the UK. The Battle of Britain marked a major strategic victory for the Allies and a significant setback for the Axis powers. Operation Barbarossa was Nazi Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941. The Soviets had a vast territory that the Germans had to cover, making logistics extremely challenging. The Red Army put up stiff resistance, fighting fiercely to defend their homeland. The harsh Russian winter took a heavy toll on the German forces, who were unprepared for the extreme conditions. The Germans suffered huge losses, with over 750,000 casualties by the end of 1941. The failure of Barbarossa marked a major turning point in World War II, leading to the eventual defeat of Nazi Germany. The surprise attack on Pearl Harbor by the Japanese on December 7, 1941 was a pivotal moment that led to the United States entering World War II. The attack was devastating, with heavy damage to the U.S. Pacific Fleet, including the sinking of several battleships and the destruction of hundreds of aircraft. In the aftermath, the U.S. Congress voted to declare war on Japan, officially bringing the country into the global conflict. The Pacific Theater during World War II was a major front, with the U.S. military employing a strategy of island hopping. This involved selectively attacking key islands, while bypassing heavily defended ones, to advance towards Japan. The chart shows the U.S. casualties for three major island battles: Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa. Guadalcanal had around 7,100 U.S. casualties, Iwo Jima had 26,000, and the Battle of Okinawa resulted in 75,000 U.S. casualties. This island hopping strategy, while costly, allowed the U.S. to gradually advance and weaken Japan's defenses without having to capture every single island. The Eastern Front was a brutal, drawn-out campaign between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union during World War I. This slide provides an overview of two key aspects of the fighting on the Eastern Front. First, it highlights the intense tank battles that took place, involving massive numbers of troops and armored vehicles. The Battle of Stalingrad is then mentioned as a major turning point, where the Soviets were able to defeat the German forces and mark the beginning of the Soviet counteroffensive. These two elements, the tank warfare and the Battle of Stalingrad, were pivotal in shaping the course of the war on the Eastern Front. The Holocaust was a dark and tragic chapter in human history, marked by the systematic persecution and genocide of the Jewish people and other minority groups by the Nazi regime. Millions were murdered in concentration camps, where prisoners were subjected to horrific atrocities and inhumane conditions. This was a devastating genocide that the world must never forget. When Allied forces liberated the camps, they were confronted with the full, harrowing extent of the Nazis' crimes against humanity. This revelation shook the world and served as a stark reminder of the importance of standing up against hatred and oppression. As we reflect on this history, we must honor the memory of the victims and recommit ourselves to building a more just, equitable, and compassionate world. The image on this slide shows a dramatic scene of Allied bombers flying over Germany, with explosions and flak in the sky, a powerful visual representation of the Allied strategic bombing campaign during the war. The key points covered on this slide are the massive civilian casualties caused by the bombing, the damage inflicted on German industry and war production, and the devastating firestorm bombing of Hamburg in 1942. I'll start by highlighting the staggering human toll. The bombing killed around 600,000 civilians, many of whom were not the intended military and industrial targets. Next, I'll explain how the bombing disrupted German war production, damaging up to 40% of their industrial capacity at the height of the campaign. Finally, I'll dive into the example of the Hamburg firestorm in 1942, which caused massive civilian casualties and destruction, illustrating the immense human cost of this bombing strategy. Throughout, I'll emphasize the controversial and morally complex nature of the Allied bombing campaign, which sought to cripple the German war effort but at a tremendous human price. June 6, 1944 was a pivotal day in World War II, as Allied forces launched the largest seaborne invasion in history, landing in Normandy, France. This invasion, known as D-Day, was part of the broader Operation Overlord, which aimed to liberate Western Europe from Nazi occupation. The landings faced fierce German resistance, resulting in heavy casualties on both sides. However, the successful establishment of a beachhead was a crucial first step in the Allied advance towards victory. The Battle of the Bulge was a major German offensive in December 1944. During the harsh winter conditions of World War II, the Germans aimed to split the Allied forces by launching a surprise attack in the Ardennes region. At first, the Germans achieved significant success, creating a bulge in the Allied lines. However, the Allies were able to mount a counterattack and ultimately defeat the German forces. This was Germany's last major offensive of the war, marking a turning point towards the Allies' eventual victory. The image on this slide shows a powerful and haunting scene from the liberation of the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp by Allied forces. It depicts emaciated, starving prisoners who were discovered in horrific conditions, as well as the mass graves that were uncovered. This liberation sparked international outrage and revealed the true scale and brutality of the Holocaust. As I discuss these events, I will emphasize the immense human suffering and the moral imperative to remember and learn from this dark chapter in history. It's crucial that we honor the victims and survivors, and recommit ourselves to preventing such atrocities from ever happening again. The image on this slide is a powerful black and white photograph of the fall of Berlin at the end of World War II. It shows Soviet soldiers raising the flag over the Reichstag, the German parliament building, amidst the destruction and smoke of the city. The timeline on this slide outlines the key events in the final days of the war in Europe. It begins with the Soviet offensive on Berlin, where they faced fierce German resistance. The fighting then moved to the streets of Berlin, becoming intense and brutal urban combat. The timeline concludes with Hitler's suicide in his bunker, after which Germany surrendered shortly after, marking the end of the war in Europe. This slide provides an impactful visual and chronological overview of the dramatic conclusion of the war on the Eastern Front. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945 were devastating events that led to Japan's surrender and the end of World War II. On August 6, the U.S. dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, causing massive destruction and killing tens of thousands instantly. 3 days later, on August 9, the U.S. dropped a second atomic bomb on Nagasaki, leading to even more widespread devastation. The decision to use these weapons of mass destruction remains highly controversial to this day, as the bombings resulted in the deaths of many innocent civilians. However, the bombings are also credited with bringing a swift end to the war, preventing even greater loss of life on both sides. It's important to approach this topic with sensitivity and acknowledge the complex moral and historical implications of these events. On August 15, 1945, Japan formally surrendered, marking the end of World War II. This formal surrender came after the United States dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, leading Japan to concede defeat. The news of Japan's surrender was met with global celebration, as the world rejoiced in the end of the devastating conflict. The Allied powers during World War II were led by three key figures: Winston Churchill, Franklin D. Roosevelt, and Joseph Stalin. Churchill was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and played a crucial role in coordinating the Allied war effort. Roosevelt was the President of the United States and helped mobilize American resources and troops to support the Allies. Stalin was the leader of the Soviet Union and commanded the Eastern Front against Nazi Germany. These three leaders worked together, despite their differences, to defeat the Axis powers and bring an end to the war. Their collaboration and strategic decisions were instrumental in the Allied victory. Radar was a game-changing technology during World War II, allowing militaries to detect and track enemy movements more effectively. Jet engines revolutionized aviation, enabling faster and more powerful aircraft that could outperform propeller-driven planes. The development of atomic weapons had a profound impact, ushering in a new era of destructive power that would shape global politics for decades. These technological advancements profoundly changed the nature of warfare, giving militaries unprecedented capabilities that shaped the outcome of World War II and the post-war world. During World War II, women played a vital role in the war effort, contributing in various ways. In factories, women produced weapons, ammunition, and other critical supplies needed by the military. Women also served in the armed forces, taking on support roles that freed up men to fight on the front lines. On the home front, women maintained households and communities, supporting the war effort through their everyday activities. The iconic Rosie the Riveter image became a symbol of the empowerment and contributions of women during this time. Their efforts were crucial in helping the Allies achieve victory. The French resistance played a crucial role in fighting against the German occupation during World War I. They engaged in sabotage, disrupting infrastructure, and gathering valuable intelligence to support the Allied war effort. Their actions significantly impacted German operations and helped weaken their hold on France. The Norwegian resistance also made important contributions, protecting their Jewish citizens from deportation and disrupting German activities in their country. Both the French and Norwegian resistance movements demonstrated immense bravery and resilience in the face of a powerful occupying force. Their stories highlight the power of grassroots resistance and the determination of people to fight for their freedom. In February 1945, the Allied leaders, Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin, met at Yalta to discuss the post-war world. They agreed to divide Germany into occupation zones, with the Soviet Union, US, UK, and France each controlling a section. The Yalta Conference also led to the creation of the United Nations, an international organization to promote peace and security. Crucially, the conference gave the Soviet Union significant influence over Eastern Europe, which would shape the post-war geopolitical landscape. The United Nations was established in 1945 after World War II, with the aim of promoting peace and security worldwide. It provides a forum for diplomacy, allowing countries to come together and foster international cooperation on global issues. The UN addresses a wide range of global challenges, from conflict resolution to human rights, working to make the world a better place. The image on this slide depicts the iconic United Nations headquarters in New York City, with the flags of member nations, a powerful symbol of the organization's global reach and mission. The graph on this slide shows a clear upward trend in economic growth after World War II, with increasing GDP and other positive economic indicators. The war stimulated industrial growth and created many new jobs, helping to end the Great Depression. World War II also reshaped global trade and changed economic power dynamics around the world. These factors combined to have a significant positive economic impact in the post-war period. The Cold War was a defining geopolitical conflict of the 20th century, marked by an intense rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. This rivalry emerged in the aftermath of World War II, as the two superpowers vied for global influence and dominance. At its core, the Cold War was an ideological conflict, with the US promoting democratic capitalism and the Soviet Union advocating for communism. The threat of nuclear war loomed large during this period, shaping global politics and international relations for decades. This division of the world into competing ideological blocs had a profound and lasting impact on the course of history. The World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. is a powerful symbol, honoring those who served and sacrificed during the war. The memorial's design, with its columns and reflecting pool, creates a solemn and patriotic atmosphere. World War II memorials not only honor the fallen, but also serve as reminders of the horrors of war and the importance of peace. Educational programs about World War II help teach younger generations about this pivotal moment in history, promoting understanding and ensuring we never forget. Remembering World War II is crucial. It helps us learn from the past and work to prevent such devastating conflicts from happening again in the future. Diplomacy is the foundation for preventing conflicts. It allows countries to resolve differences through dialogue and negotiation rather than force. International cooperation is crucial for addressing global challenges that no single country can solve alone, such as climate change, pandemics, and nuclear proliferation. Protecting human rights is essential for maintaining peace and stability. When people's basic rights and freedoms are respected, they are less likely to turn to violence. By prioritizing diplomacy, cooperation, and human rights, we can build a more stable and peaceful world for all.